All right, here we are.
It's another
Podcast day.
week, and hopefully we're in focus this time.
Yeah, sorry about
really
last time.
apologize.
Well, I thought it was pretty funny that the episode that we were a little nervous about talking about the geometry, because it's a lot of like hand waving, to try to explain geometry, and I'm over here waving hands, very blurry hands.
Right. Well, it was, we were trying the youth filters.
Yeah. Didn't work so well, but thanks for sticking with us. I know quite a few of you tuned in and watched it anyway, so I appreciate it. So
it was a fun episode. I really liked it. I think we have some good stuff planned for you this week.
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny weekend. So there's no GP yet because Qatar got canceled. Well, rescheduled, let's say.
Hopefully rescheduled.
Hopefully just rescheduled to later in the year. So we've got kind of a dead weekend with MotoGP. There is nothing going in the rider market still. They're still at a stalemate. So no news there. There's more rumors, of course, but who knows? None of that stuff's...
Because we're still waiting for basically the deal with Dorna and the teams before any of the rider. What a year. Like, so drama. Yeah. So I think once that's done, then we'll start... I think we're going to see a flood of contract announcements once the, MSMA, the manufacturers themselves, get a deal done with Dorna. But until then, I think we're just going to be sitting on our hands waiting. So we're just going to have to talk about motorcycles.
So we do have a couple of interesting things. So this coming weekend, we're shooting this on a Thursday this week.
We're shooting it early, yeah.
Yeah. This weekend, though, is the first official round of MotoAmerica.
Yay.
So they will be racing at Road Atlanta.
Cool track.
Very cool track. I think they've been racing there for 30-something odd years.
Yeah, it's been
very,
very
for a
cool
long
track,
time.
yeah.
I have an interesting thing to share with you.
Oh, okay.
So I have a little news today.
All right.
So last weekend we talked about our first track day and how just kind of generally positive I feel about racetracks in general, especially ours.
Yeah.
New ownership, things feel like they're moving in a really good direction. We had a huge class of new riders. I was excited about that. One of the issues that plagues racetracks is people. And what I mean by that is people who decide to move in next door to a racetrack.
Which always befuddles me, right?
Yeah. Like,
we're going to move next to the racetrack and then complain about the noise.
And then be like, why is it so loud here all the time? Every weekend it's so loud. So that has all but ruined Laguna Seca. Right? Because they basically can't run. They've got noise restrictions on what you can do and things. So that the noise thing is a real concern for racetracks. Interestingly enough, Kansas just passed a law this year basically protecting racetracks and motorsport facilities.
Kansas did.
Well, here's what's interesting. So let me talk about this bill really quick. So Kansas basically says, hey, if it is an established motorsport facility, a racetrack, motocross track, rally circuit, something that's motorsport related.
And been there for a while, I'm guessing.
And established. If you move in next door, they're basically protected from lawsuits about noise complaints, about disruptions, about any of that nuisance type complaint.
Right.
Law.
How did you not know? You should have done your due diligence. And
so,
it's like living next to a freeway and being like, I can't believe I hear cars all the time.
Yeah. But Kansas passed a law saying, hey, motorsport facilities are protected. What's interesting, let me pull up because I want to make sure I get this right. Guess what? It's not the only state to do this. Last year, in 2025, Iowa and North Carolina passed very similar bills.
Oh.
So there seems to be a little bit of momentum right now with this. And a similar bill to this has been presented in several other states.
This is very encouraging.
So I will take this as my first step. I hope we can get a bill passed in Utah shortly.
Well, as president of the Utah Superbike Association, I work with the state safety board. I think they're having a thing coming up here soon. There's the Utah Motorcycle Show, I think, is coming. I think we have enough. We should be able to start contacting some people and start looking at, potentially getting this pushed through. Where our track is, it's in the middle of nothing.
For now.
Yeah. I mean, it has been for a while. I don't know why you would want to live there. There's a weird anomaly in Utah. And this is the actual name. It's called Lake Stink. And this is really what it's called.
Yep.
And where the racetrack is, it's at the epicenter of it. And if you get a north wind at a certain time of year, there's this crazy little brine fly that lives out there, and the little brine shrimp, the sea monkeys, they all die at a certain point in the year. And if the wind comes off the north after they've died, the smell is vile. And the track, our track, is right where the wind comes blowing through there. So I don't know why anybody would want to live there anyhow.
This is why people tune into this podcast.
Right, so you can learn about lake stink.
This kind of insight and information. That's why they're here. Yeah, but I think the reality is like there's just this urban sprawl happening everywhere you look. And so, you always think, oh, it's just a bunch of like cows and fields out there. There's nothing out there. For now. But where I live in the valley some odd years ago was just fields too.
Yeah, when I moved, I remember as a kid, you would come through Salt Lake City and there was the 49th Street Galleria. Utah set up on this big grid, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like 10th South is actually it's just a big grid, whatever. 49th South is 4900 South. Mm-hmm. And that was the end of the city. By the time you got to 49th Street Galleria, it was just fields. Yep. And what south roughly are you on? You're like on
116.
Yeah, so more than double.
And there's city beyond me.
Yeah. And there used to be nothing out there. It was all cow towns. And that's just in the last, 25, 30 years. Yeah. So, yeah, urban sprawl is coming. I remember when we did the very first meeting with Larry Miller that one of his ideas was to potentially build big giant dirt berms around the track to help mitigate noise and plant trees on them.
Yeah.
And of course that never happened.
But I would love to get a bill like this passed that just protected it in general. So even if something does happen in the future, it's not at risk.
Right.
So anyway, kudos to Kansas and Iowa and North Carolina.
Good job, guys.
Passing these and being a good example for the rest of us.
Right. Maybe we can share our lane splitting with you. You can share our track protections with us. Reciprocity. United. We will be a united nation once again.
We are serving the greater good right now.
Motorcycles are going to save America.
Let's we'll call Mitch. We'll get AMA involved.
There we go. I'm sure Mitch would be engaged with that.
Let's do it. So I think that's really interesting. There is another bit of news. We have just been on this China kick lately.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about China lately.
But to be honest, there's a lot of news coming out of China, so it's kind of hard to ignore it. Another Chinese motorcycle manufacturer. I feel like there is maybe a translation issue happening here with this name that I don't quite understand it, but it is called QJ Motor.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about this.
So we have CF Motor, we have ZX Motor, we have QJ Motor. I don't know if we just go through the alphabet and that's how we come up with the names.
I mean, all the names have been taken, right?
Yeah, like, maybe that's what it is. We're just out of names.
All the cool words are used for other vehicles. Yeah.
But QJ Motor released their, again, the names for the models are not quite so sexy, but the SRK 421RR.
Oh, we got the R's.
It's got enough R's. It has 3 R's in the name.
There we go. We know it's a sport bike just by that.
They could learn a thing or two from Honda.
They have all the R's.
Crushed it with the R's. But at any rate, it is a 4-cylinder, 421cc engine. So a very direct competitor to that Kawasaki, that ZX4RR that they make, which, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, it's a ripping little bike. It sounds fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Anything that spins that high is going to sound good.
And the guys, there's a handful of them that race them in the racetrack out with us. And they might be having the most fun of anybody out there.
Even on our big fast track.
Because it's just like a battle between them and they're having a ball.
Right.
So, but what's interesting, that QJ motor, that is not available in the US currently. Maybe eventually it will, but European prices translate to about $7,000 US.
Oh, that's a very good price point.
That ZX4RR is right at $10,000.
$3,000 less.
So a third, like you're talking 30% off.
I mean, it's inevitable. We're going to start seeing this.
We're going to see one here.
Well, we're already seeing CF Motos. We see CF Motos all over the place, right?
Here's the other thing that's wild about that JX. Now, I don't know anything about this bike. I've not seen one in person, so I don't know the quality of this thing. It's a 400-ish 4-cylinder. The Kawasaki ZX4RR makes about 55, 56 horsepower. This thing makes 76.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of in a different league. 20 horsepower?
Yeah, that's impressive.
At that size?
But All right, here's the question. I don't know the answer to it. Is the 400RR, the Ninja, is it at the lower horsepower because of emissions and stuff?
Very well could be. Yeah, very well could be. I do not know enough about it, and I don't really know what guys are getting out of those things when they're tuned up. Maybe you guys can help us with that. I'm sure some of you are more familiar with those than I am, but
because we have a friend who has the souped up 400RR, and that thing makes good power, doesn't it?
I don't know what though.
I think he told me it's in the 70 range.
Oh, so maybe it gets close then. Yeah.
But, he did a lot to it to get it to that point.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to see because the Chinese seem like they're coming in and looking at all these segments that are, I mean, you could probably make an argument that they're underserved, right? There's just not enough options in that spot, and they're just creating more options for it. It's also cool to me to see how they sort of seem sport bike crazy.
Yeah.
Like they're doing CF Moto, especially like the bigger ones are doing adventure bikes and other things, but it seems like every time you hear of a new one, it's some crazy sport bike that they've rolled out and they're kind of going for it. So
I have two thoughts on this. Now, number one is, you bring in all these really affordable motorcycles. Does that grow the sport? Because now it's more attainable, right? You've just lowered the barrier to entry.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you and I have both probably at some point had experience with a Walmart bicycle.
Sure.
These really cheap.
I rode a Huffy as a kid.
I got into a kick several years ago where I would buy them, and then because you bought them for cheap, you could buy them for $80 and whatever, and you could just ride them. And if someone stole it, I didn't care, right?
It's disposable.
But I'm a lifelong cyclist. You are as well. The quality and the problems that those things had. Now it was all fixable, right? Like boogery welds on the inside of the rim, so it was like blowing tires until I took everything apart and ground it down. It's crap like that. So if the quality is so low, it may get more people into it, but will the ownership experience be negative enough, like the Walmart bike, that they never want to touch a bike again? Because I think Walmart hurts the bicycle market more than it helps it because people buy these things. It's blowing tires, the chain never stays on, and they're like, bikes suck. Right?
So I think I would probably argue the other way around. I would rather have more points of entry and opportunities for people to get in. Because if the activity if someone's priced out of the activity, they're never going to find out if they like it or not, or if they're willing to sacrifice other things to make it happen. But if you get in, then at least I have the chance of keeping you in. But if I never get you in the first place, you're never, you know what I mean?
Well, here's another thought on that too. Maybe it's up to us as the established motorcycle community to be very welcoming to these Chinese bikes and these kids that are coming in. And maybe it's having a stupid, weird little problem that they can't figure out, but we're like, oh yeah, this is how you fix that kind of a thing. And help get them over any of those quality barriers so they're more likely to stay in the sport.
Yep. And my guess is we're going to see in the next, let's call it 10 years, let's just say, we're probably going to see a rush of Chinese brands that come to market. And then there's going to be a big rush of them, and then a bunch of them are going to fade out because they aren't making quality products, or they aren't backing them up or supporting them with the dealer network and things like that. So my guess is not all of these brands are actually going to survive, or they're going to get consumed or
they'll just merge together with another brand.
Yep. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that happens if in 15 years, there's only 3 or 4 big Chinese brands, not 30.
Right.
Because they've kind of all...
Yeah, just imagine like the dealer network thing. Like if there's 30 of them, how are you going to... And then you're not going to do direct to consumer on a motorcycle.
No.
Like that's... I mean, you kind of can now. You can go to Amazon and get these weird freaking things. And
well, and I think we kind of have tried the direct to consumer with automobiles, right? That was effectively Tesla's model,
right?
They had showrooms, not dealerships. And there's a lot of Teslas on the road. So obviously it has been somewhat successful. But I know for a fact that the service side of Tesla if you've ever had to deal with getting one serviced and having it picked up or brought somewhere else, you might be without your car for weeks or months. Sometimes.
Right. My buddy has a Tesla. Yeah, he's struggled with that.
Yeah. So, it does come with its downsides to try to be an early adopter for these things. But I think ultimately, I don't fault the young guy who is going to go pick up one of these ZRX 421, whatever they're called, because he can actually get into one of them for a decent price and its performance, and he's having fun. There was a time when, we were buying bikes and we didn't know how to work on them or didn't know how to fix them either.
Right.
That's how you learn, and they're gonna learn. They're gonna figure out how to.
Well, let's talk about Zoe for a second. You know Zoe. Yeah. Zoe is a young woman, very small. She was a horse jockey. And she decides she's going to go buy a motorcycle. She goes buys a CRF 400 or whatever, that little sport bike with 1,000 wings on it. Mm-hmm. And she, through like a very long storied story that's not relevant to this, she ends up at the track. Mm-hmm. She's every single track day. She's there. And she's had problems with that bike. But in the meantime, she's bought a Triumph. She's bought like an adventure bike, like that little CF Moto that's now her dedicated track bike. I think she's bought a 400RR as it were, now that I think about it. Has turned her into a lifelong super nerd motorcycle rider. And buy a junky little CF Moto. Like it was one of the early ones, you know?
And I think that's where I lean into the sort of, it'll sound bad, but like the more gateway drugs there are, the better, because there's just more entry points into the sport.
Right.
Right. And then you'll get in and you'll be like, oh, this thing's junk. I'm going to go buy a proper bike, or I'm going to go buy something else.
Yeah. Or I'm frustrated with this thing. It's always breaking, because it used to be in America, the entry point were little dirt bikes.
Yeah.
And it just seems like we're running out of places to ride little dirt bikes, and now I've argued that the little crappy Chinese e-bicycles are going to turn into the next gateway, right? Because we have these little packs, these little gangs of kids on their little light bikes, and not even Surons. They're not even they're like light cheaper, bikes and Q-longs and Uditor and all these like crazy little names that you've and they're all riding around these little like Steve McQueen looking little junky, they're effectively little motorcycles.
Yeah,
some of them are going to make it to real motorcycles. Mm-hmm.
The ones that survive,
survive, or it's just gonna like it's gonna be the bug. Like there's a yes, they are a menace on the highway. That's a whole other discussion. But I was watching some going up and down the street, and the kid, it was just like this crappy little pedal assist thing. That kid lifted a wheelie and rode it for so long, like it was like one of the greatest wheelies I have ever seen. And sure, it freaked me out because he was wearing shorts and a bicycle helmet, and he's doing this wheelie down a public road at like 25 miles an hour, but. Kid's got skills. That's got to go somewhere, right?
Well, and if he was in flip-flops, he's actually invincible.
That's right.
That's a fact.
Backwards cap. Yeah. I wish parents would kind of recognize that some of these little e-bikes, like buy the kid a proper helmet, make sure he's wearing gloves. Yeah. Don't let him go out in shorts and flip-flops.
Head injuries happen at low speeds.
Yeah. Motorcycles. Like remember when Mitch was here and he was saying that the number one fatal motorcycle head trauma is less than 35 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
anyway, I think it's fascinating to see, another one of these brands come out with what at least sounds like it's going to be a competitive bike on paper. I'm excited when it shows up. They're not here in the US yet. But I think it's more of a matter of time than anything that brand's just not here yet.
Well, I went to my Thursday motorcycle lunch crew today. Every Thursday I get together with a bunch of motorcycle people in the Valley, and the discussion revolved around a lot about that World Super Sport 600,
the ZX Moto,
the 890, 820, and how these guys were all super excited about it, and how stoked they were about what that thing's doing.
What's funny is we trying to think about that ZX Moto, that 820. It is the bike that I can never mentally picture what it looks like,
because it looks like all of them,
because it's this blend of four bikes.
It almost looks like they went to like Gemini or ChatGPT and like said, here's 6 of the most best-selling motorcycles, make one that has all of these features,
push them together somehow,
and it did, and it looks very and it's like the name on the sides, like, is that really a word? Like it's
But it's not bad looking.
No,
it's
very good
definitely
looking.
Like a mashup of designs for sure.
I still see like so many elements of Panigale and CBR 600 in it.
Does EuroSport, do they have all their Aprilias now?
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't been down there yet. So they're fully stocked with Aprilias.
Yeah.
now.
Well, and I did that Touareg experience last fall with Belize and Aprilia.
Yep.
They're the base for the next big Touareg experience. So they have I think they have like 10 or 15 brand new Touareg rallies.
Ooh.
They're all prepping for the Touareg experience. They have, if you're in Salt Lake City, if you're in Utah, make a trip to EuroSports Utah just to go. And they have a whole bunch of Moto Guzzis sitting there too. They have like the Stelvio and
just go admire them if nothing else.
My gosh, it's so nice to see them.
So I've never personally ridden a Moto Guzzi. I've never actually ridden any bike that has a longitudinal.
Yeah, they're fun. They're so different. Like you rev the engine and it kicks to the side.
Rocks over,
Yeah. I always like Guzzis a little bit better than BMWs because you think like lean angle. Like BMWs, they're flat. So like how far before that thing starts dragging the ground? Moto Guzzi, very ambitious. We're going to angle them up so you get more cornering clearance.
That's why they did it. Yeah. They're good looking though, I will say.
Yeah, I
think
love
they're
them.
really pretty.
I love the retro look of an old Guzzi or even a new Guzzi. I like them.
I think it is cool that we are starting to see more and more brands take track riding and road racing more serious as an endeavor for not professionals.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Because, okay, I don't want to ride a sport bike on the street. I personally don't. I think they're hard to ride on. We were talking about
kind of a lot of work.
Yeah, and you're this committed seating position. Okay, so I don't want to do that. Doesn't mean I still can't enjoy the things.
Yeah.
Right? Go do a track day and kind of get it out of your system, get into club racing.
Mm-hmm. And so what we're seeing, which is really fun, is Honda just announced that they are partnering as a kind of a pilot project. They're partnering with 3 dealerships kind of throughout the US for now. But those dealerships have direct access to sort of the HRC catalog.
Oh, nice.
So I used to race a CBR 600 and it had a kit HRC wiring harness and ECU, but those were hard to come by. You kind of had to know a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah, you knew Ulrich. You knew.
Yeah. And they'd have to you'd have to get them and they were from Japan and you'd wait for weeks or months and maybe it shows up, maybe it doesn't. So it is really cool to see that they've kind of opened this catalog up a little more. So now some of you if you're familiar with the HRC line, for their CBRs especially, but the 600s and the 1000s, they do offer a lineup of the HRC camshaft and valve train, the HRC harness and ECU, and the HRC quick shifter, and all proper built HRC kit stuff,
and with HRC level beauty.
Oh, and they're beautifully built. Everything about them is beautifully built. But now they're saying, hey, rather than just the partial catalog, which some dealerships could get at times in the past, now it's the full catalog. So stuff that was just totally off limits to us in the past, there's a couple dealerships that are going to be able to do it. The dealerships they chose are all ones that are somewhat associated with MotoAmerica currently. So if you watch MotoAmerica, the big Honda team is Real Steel Honda. Mm-hmm. And that is Southern something Power Sports. I forget the name of them exactly. But that's the dealership that runs that team. They're one of them that is partnered with this for HRC, which is really exciting because on my very short list of next race bikes or next track bikes is that Fireblade.
The 1000?
Oh yeah, I would.
The Triple R?
I would go.
There was one someone took a photo of you. I don't know if you've seen this. When we did that whole brand new rider,
I've seen it, but that's me eyeballing the BMW. I think
I don't know. It looks like you're looking at the Honda. You had this misty, glassy eye. It's gorgeous.
Is so pretty.
Objectively, it is such a pretty motorcycle.
But that CBR is now you can go get the full HRC kit parts straight from a US dealership, which is a really cool thing. It was just not an option in the past. So I'm excited for that. They even mentioned in the press release that there's a potential that if this goes well, they will actually bring the kit bikes available.
Oh, really?
So what that means is Honda, so they have a third party. Well, it's not third party. It's sort of you know how Mercedes has AMG?
Sure.
It's like the in-house tuning brand.
Yeah.
Honda has that as well for their sport bikes. So on the car side, they have Mugen and a few other ones. They have similar brands on the bike side that do the same thing. But basically, these are bikes that they took a production bike, rather than building all the street body work and taillights and all that stuff into it, they just took it off the production line when it was ready and then fitted it for racing. So it never comes with headlights. It never comes with all those things.
Right. That used to be the only way to get an R6 there for a couple of years.
Yeah. Yamaha did it for a while, kind of to burn through excess inventory, I think. But
it came with a bunch of Graves things.
It was just ready to
Graves
go.
rear sets and exhaust and a bunch of cool things.
So that's the idea here that Honda's looking at is like, hey, is the US market mature enough that we could just sell straight up race bikes? And what's interesting is you're seeing other brands dabble and test the waters.
Well, like it's like the one that comes to mind immediately is the RC8C.
The KTM.
Yeah, the KTM, right? Which we've had a couple of them out at our local track. If you've ever seen one in real life,
oh man, they're cool.
Oh my gosh. It's like a kit, like it's so kitted out. It's like turnkey, man.
And beneath the KTM logo, they are a Kramer underneath.
Right. Which is an amazingly cool company. Germany, right? Kramer's German?
Yep, based in Germany. Yep. Very cool company. But now KTM, I think that RC8C experiment has gone so well for them.
They sold every one like in minutes.
Yeah, every year. I think they only did it for 3 years, but 100 would be produced. 100 were gone within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
They were all sold out instantly. So you were never going to get your hands on one, at least not new. But that's gone so well that now KTM is doing that 990, 990 RCR track.
Right.
Which is the new 990 RCR, but it's a straight up track only version.
It's the better way to buy that bike.
And it's not that expensive.
Right.
I want to say it's like 13.5 or 16 or something.
No, that's like,
I think
that's the price of a Tuono factory or RS660 factory.
Yeah. And this thing just comes with the ECU, comes with the bodywork, comes with the race exhaust, comes with everything you want, nothing you don't need.
Yeah, just go out and ride it.
I like this idea.
Me too. Because that's the only way, like every sport bike I've bought in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
The first thing you do is you take the street bodywork and you hang it on the wall, and then the headlight's sitting up there and like the stock pipe is up in the attic, and you spend a good amount of time pulling all this stuff off to stick it in the attic. And
my wife, who is going to listen to this podcast at some point, is shaking her head right now because I have at least 2 boxes of perfectly wrapped in cellophane bodywork that is just sitting in my attic.
No, that's the way to do it because, well, it's almost impossible to sell a used track bike.
Yeah.
Right? And
well, not for much.
Yeah, right. It's way easier to sell a low mileage motorcycle with pristine bodywork.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, but like how much easier, how much less stress, it's a hassle to build.
Yeah.
I have a video, I've done a couple video series on building a track bike. Nobody watches them because it's tedious. It's nothing really fun about building a track bike, right?
It's a bit of work.
It's fun for me, but nobody wants to watch that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I sort of enjoyed doing it, but I don't, because there's something cathartic about taking off stuff that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, and then wrapping it up and finding a safe place to put it. And
but I'm thinking like when you pull off like the turn signals or the evap canister, and you're like trash.
Yeah.
You just get rid of it.
What is it? I had a little spreadsheet of all the crap I pulled off of the RC390, all the street stuff that
was a ton.
Yeah, it was I think like 30 or 40 pounds off of that little motorcycle.
Yeah. Sometimes
just like,
well, and sometimes just getting rid of the cat is like 10 pounds.
Oh yeah, easily. And then it's not even like the headlight weighs, and yeah, the little plastic fender that hangs all the way off the back, and the mirrors. Like, this is just the simple stuff.
Yeah.
Is where most of the weight comes from. The back seat, the passenger pegs,
But so anyway, I'm excited to see that some of these brands are getting really serious about, hey, let's just sell them what they want in the first place.
Yeah.
Let's not make them. And in some ways, it's almost because the sport bike market is kind of like weaning off of like, there's not a lot of people buy full fat sport bikes to go on the street anymore.
Right. I love sport bikes. I love them. I love them to the nines. Like I was like doing that Yamaha R7 thing. You walk up to it and it looks,
it looks so good.
Yeah, and you're like, and you feel so cool riding it. And it's like this thing. And then like 15 minutes in, you're like, I sure wish I had a tube bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I still have that love of sport bikes. I love them. So to sell them in the environment where they are the best, where they are the most joyful and the most fun to ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, every sport bike I've bought in the last Lord knows how long has all made it to the track.
Yep.
Like that's where it lives.
So anyway, I'm encouraged by that. Speaking of, on my way over here, I actually followed a bike through.
It's snowing outside, by the way.
Yeah, we're having a weird day. I left my house this morning to go to work, and it was 62
and sunny and pretty.
Yeah,
it was like a pretty morning.
I didn't even bring a jacket to work.
I know. When I went to lunch, I went without a jacket, and I walked out of the restaurant. I was like, "Oh crap!"
And so then all of a sudden, we got a bit of a weird blizzard kind of thing going on. So kind of an odd day, but I thought it was interesting. So I'm following a poor kid on a sport bike on my way here. And I thought, man, what a tough day to get caught out in the rain. But I thought maybe, kind of spring riding was something worth talking about.
Spring riding, yeah.
And you're the expert on it, so
figured the expert on spring riding, yeah. So we live in the mountains where it snows. And so spring riding and fall riding are statistically, fall riding is the most dangerous time of the year to ride. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean spring doesn't have its pitfalls. I don't think winter's that dangerous because not many people go out. So statistically speaking,
pretty low risk.
Yeah. Unless you're the person who's doing it. I have no interest in riding in the winter. If there's salt on the roads or whatever, I'm like, don't care.
Yep.
That's when you build your track bike.
Yep.
But spring riding, right? There's a bunch of things we need to pay attention of. Number one being, cars haven't seen you in about 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
They're completely not used to looking for you.
Yep.
So you have to kind of be aware of that. And then the other big factor is entropy is real. Rust never sleeps. You're not as good as you were when you got off the bike last fall.
I will add to that. So we just had our first track day, and I haven't talked a whole lot about it. We had our first track day, and we got to ride on East Track, which I enjoy. And I rode fine, but I could tell I was just mentally behind every single lap. I wasn't quite sharp. I was a little offline. I was a little late here. I was a little off here. It does take time to get back up to speed and get your brain back in it. It's a different thing.
I thought this year would be better for me because I did so many press things over the winter. But the press things I did, they didn't start until January. Mm-hmm. Holy cow, the big thing I noticed were how slow my eyes were and how many little posture things I was just completely neglecting. Yep. Like I'm sitting right at the front of the seat and I'm like, man, my back hurts. And you're like, oh my gosh, Dave, slide back.
Yeah.
And, just silly things like that. You have to really take a minute and mentally prepare, like really think through, where am I? What am I doing? Mm-hmm. Right? Those are like the two big ones that aren't the ones that most people think about, right? Most people think about, well, the roads are dirty. There's going to be gravel in the corners. In our case, a lot of our good roads are still closed for some unknown reason. Like Guardsman Pass is open, but East Canyon's closed. I don't know why that is. Yeah. Guardsman Pass goes over 10,000 feet. East Canyon's where I tape all my videos. It's really close and pretty low. But as soon as those gates open, so much crap on the roads.
Yeah.
And they're dirty, and the mud's been running across them, and the snow across them. You have to be really mindful of.
Are you one of the riders that has sort of a little bit of a mantra before you get on a bike? I know there's some folks that, I think the most famous one is Rossi, right? Whenever Rossi gets on, he's like crouched down, holding onto the foot peg, and I've got no idea what he's saying to himself, but he's definitely doing something.
Right. I have a lot of mantras, and there was a while I was going to make a series of videos where I talk about each mantra. But my mantra rotates based on what I'm struggling with and what time of year it is, right? So like one of mine is wait for the wait, because like a lot of the braking things we get, if our eyes are slow or like as you age, this is a crappy thing about getting older. The way your body works, right? You have a synaptic relay in your brain that connects to your hands. And if you don't use that movement a certain way, your hands start to get jerky and twitchy, right? If you watch like your grandma try to like grab a pen, her hand moves in fast movements. And that's because the synaptic relay kind of broke down in your hand. So you have to, in your brain. So you have to constantly reconnect that synaptic relay, right? The older you get, the faster that thing starts to degrade. So you've been off your motorcycle since, let's say October, hop on your bike in April, right? You're more likely to be quick and abrupt with all of your controls, so you have to slow things down.
Interesting.
Right? To reconnect that synaptic relay in your brain. And, you know, you can practice that in the winter by like squeezing and releasing a ball. But one of my little mantras is wait for the weight. And it's just this little mental reminder. It's cute. It rhymes, which is always nice. That always makes it better. To slow my hands down, right? As we roll off the throttle to the front brake, feel that weight shift onto the front tire, feel that fork start to compress, feel that tire kind of start to deform. Now I have my weight. Now I can apply my brakes, and just kind of doing these little things. That's one mantra. My number one mantra is probably fast eyes, right? Fast eyes is, you know, so many programs tell you to just look off in the distance, eyes up, eyes up, eyes up. The problem with that is you lose perspective, you lose depth perception. So your eyes actually should be moving up and down.
Kind of scanning
up and down primarily, right? On the road, like the OODA loop's pretty good because you're going back and forth a little bit to scan the sides.
I don't think I've ever heard the term OODA loop.
It's an Air Force thing. You're an Air Force guy. OODA loop.
I missed that day, I guess.
Observe, orient, decide, act.
Nope.
Right? So you observe, orient, like an airplane, you have to orient yourself, basically. Observe, orient, decide, act. And it's just the OODA loop to constantly be thinking through these things. But OODA loop. I just go with fast eyes. And it's just to like eyes up and down, right? That you need to look down at the road surface, especially in the spring. Roads can be smutsy. And then getting my eyes back up again, right? You look out, you scan back. You look up, you scan back. Fast eyes. That's the number one thing I think I personally struggle with as a rider is my eyes get slow. My eyes get lazy. And fast eyes. Those are probably the two biggest ones, I think. I have so many though.
So I guess when I think about when I'm first getting back on track, so we were riding this past weekend. So I was thinking about this. It's along the same lines. One of the biggest struggles is forcing your vision far enough ahead. Because we've talked about this, the 20 mile an hour brain, right? You're only built to go max speed, 20 miles an hour. So to go any faster than that and have enough visual lead to be ahead of where you are in terms of speed, it's not automatic. You have to mentally force yourself to go look far enough ahead. And that's even more important when you're trying to go fast on a racetrack because, whereas you think about on a highway, like it's a straight-ish road.
It's easy to get apathetic, right?
But on a racetrack, you've got a corner that's a 180 and you're coming into it at 100 or 70 or whatever it is. You can't just like glance ahead of where, in front of the front tire and deal with it. You've got to look way farther ahead to get your eyes up and make a plan for it. So I think whenever I'm trying to get back on track and get back up to speed, almost the only thing I'm thinking about is my visual lead.
Do you have a mantra that you're saying in your head to do it, or how do you?
No, but it's sort of, I always, like whenever I'm talking about the racetrack, I oftentimes refer to it as Pac-Man. If you think about Pac-Man, he's going around a little map and he's just eating up the little dots. Around a racetrack, you have very repeatable, you can put the dots wherever you want, but I'm just trying to connect the dots. That's all I'm trying to do.
Right. And you're thinking like entry point, tip in, apex, exit.
And the corners that are always harder is the ones that have like a weird delayed apex or double apex especially, where as you come into the corner, if the corner is like a 180, but there's sort of an entrance apex, let's call it, and then a deep point in the middle, then another one on the back end, we
have a bunch of those on our track.
Yeah, you can't actually see it on the way in. If you just stare at that first apex as you're coming in, you're going to overslow. But you have to force your brain to look at that spot kind of out in the middle of no man's land and go, that's actually where I'm trying to go. That's the dot. And you have to force your brain to let the bike roll all the way out there. Because once you're out there, then you're turned and then you can see the rest of the corner like you need to. But if all you can do is focus on the very next dot, the next apex.
Yeah, we call that apex obsession. Where you get so caught up in the apex.
You won't be able to get yourself deep enough to
you don't move past it.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I focus on a ton is don't look at the immediate thing that my little primate brain wants to just look at the very next thing. I have to force my vision out further. And that's actually where I'm going. I'm going way out there first. That's what I'm looking at. So that's probably the number one thing.
So I was struggling a lot with posture issues when I did the first track day, not home. Do you have posture things that you fall back on to try to get yourself?
Yes. So luckily I've done so many laps on a track that the posture comes fairly naturally in a lot of ways. It's like almost, I would feel awkward doing it in a different way. But the part that does take mental effort is, you actually mentioned it, it's keeping my butt back in the saddle. Because it's a very common, and this is probably the number one thing I see with track day riders, is they're right up on the gas tank, meaning like their crotch is up on the gas tank.
It's what I struggle with all the time.
It's so normal. Almost everybody does it. If I can just get a rider to scoot back, I talk about, can you keep a softball between your crotch and the gas tank? And I know this all sounds odd, but just, can I keep 4 inches between myself and the back of the gas tank? If you can just do that and then do everything else exactly how you want to, you will have such a much better time and your posture will instantly be better.
Right, because when you crowd the tank, the only way to get your head over to the inside of the bike is your spine has to have this weird twist. And it's really hard to like rotate your hips into the corner to open your whole torso up. But sliding back in the seat, and I'm not a very big guy, but depending on the bike, a lot of times I go back until I can feel the back seat and I can't even imagine what you're doing. Like, you're quite a bit taller than I am, how much farther you have to get back, but it just completely, you have suddenly all the room in the world, and getting over into the inside suddenly becomes incredibly natural.
And maybe the next track day, we'll try to get some footage and then we can maybe talk through some of the footage on the next episode. But by getting your butt back 4 inches, I actually thought you did a great job explaining this on the last episode, was how we think about moving our body on the bike and what the effect is. So you talked about your head and chest matter way more than your butt. Now, if you actually look at a human body, your head's what's a head weigh? 8 pounds?
Weighs,
10 pounds? 11 pounds?
I think it's quite heavy. I think it's like 15 pounds. It weighs more than a bowling ball.
Your head?
Your head's quite heavy.
Right. I'll take your word for it.
I think it's 11 pounds.
So your head's
remember.
heavy.
I did this research on it. Your head's quite heavy. Yeah.
But the reality is, everybody, like, your hips and your butt are heavier.
Right.
You know that. But the reality is, even if I have the craziest posture in the world, I can only move my butt a couple of inches.
Right.
I can't move it very far. My head, I can move a long ways over, right? I can really push the bike.
Yeah, think about a bowling ball on the end of a stick, right? If you hold the bowling ball close to your chest, it's pretty easy to manage. But if I put it on the end of a stick and I hold it out there, and your head weighs about the same as a bowling ball, I think more, it's really hard to manage. So where we put our head has a dramatic impact on how much the bike has to lean.
So if you think about, the goal is actually to try to move my head and chest and turn them into the corner and open up myself to the corner. Jerry has this great analogy. He talks about, it's kind of weird, but he says, imagine that there's a flashlight in your belly button and you're trying to point the flashlight where you want to go. If you think about that, then you were like, okay, well, I want to.
Belly button's great because that keeps like your whole body.
Yeah, I want my whole torso aimed into the corner.
You don't want twists in it.
Yeah.
Right. There's another aspect to that that's really fascinating, is that by rotating my chest and shoulders into the corner, it allows my neck to be straight and it allows my eyes to stay centered in my eye sockets. All of these things create additional stability. Our eyes do not like going from side to side or up to down. So if by rotating my chest, keeping my neck straight, my eyes centered in my socket, it's all easier. It's just easier.
Yeah. And that's kind of Jerry's point, is if you think about trying to aim the flashlight through the corner to shine the light, you can't do that if you're up on the tank because you just don't have enough room in your hips. But if you back up a bit, you can kind of open up your hips more and point your whole body into the corner. So this is kind of a long answer, but when you're asking about body position, that's the stuff I'm thinking about. Is it's mostly, am I keeping my butt back enough off of the tank? Because if I get lazy and I crowd the tank too much, my body position absolutely goes out the window because I just cannot get into the spot I want to be.
I'm really lazy also with my inside ankle getting soggy. So like flexing my inside ankle to point that.
Yep.
And, and they all kind of like, we start from the foundation up, right? So usually like, oh, like it feels funny. Like, what's my ankle doing? And then like, if I get my ankle right, you're like, oh, I'm way up on the tank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you start working your way up and you're like, oh, well, now that I'm away from the tank, now it's way easier to turn my shoulders in. And, oh, now it's really easy to get my head, it's fun. But I'm really bad at a soggy ankle.
And I noticed that, so a lot of riders, most riders, and if you're listening, most riders are more comfortable going one way versus another.
Most people like going left.
I think I am more comfortable going left. I don't know if that's everybody though.
I think that's everybody. And I think it has to do with the throttle hand because when you're turning right,
which makes sense.
Your throttle hand is kind of kinked up in there, right?
Yep. But I think a part of that is, and I've like coached people on track before, and you'll see them go through one direction and they look beautiful. And they go through the other direction and it's like, what are you doing? Like you don't look at all the same on this versus, left versus right or whatever. And a lot of times it's their position just doesn't get them in the same spot on one versus another. So anyway, so if you're riding at home and you're listening to us and you're going, gee, what am I not doing right? Try to think about that when you're on the bike. Am I getting my butt back far enough to give myself some room to work? And am I doing the same thing on both sides, left to right?
When I did champ school, like I feel like I'm way stronger to the left. Like, we have a left-handed track.
We have a left-handed track.
I turn left all the time. I'm like Zoolander. But when I did this school, when I did my first school with champ school, they're like, your posture is so good turning right. Let's see if we can fix your posture turning left.
Oh, that's interesting.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And I think it's because I didn't do it as much. There was less muscle memory and less habit there. And so I just am naturally more cognizant of what my left hand so turning right, I almost never touch my right knee. And I think it's because I have better posture turning right.
So I will tell a funny anecdotal story. This may be unrelated, but years ago, and I bet I'm talking 12 to 14 years ago, I had a really bad bicycle crash. I was coming down a canyon and basically it was a morning ride and I hit a rock going at like 37 miles an hour. Oof. My GPS showed I went from 37 to like 12 to 0.
Ouch.
And basically I hit a rock in a shadow that I didn't see, just launched headfirst over the handlebars. And you're in, bicycle
spandex
gear
with a styrofoam cup on your head.
Yeah, I don't got much armor on. But basically slid down this hill for a long time. Long enough that I remember sliding on my one side thinking, gee, I should probably roll over. I've been on this side for a long time. It was pretty brutal.
Oh, that's horrible, Brian.
It was the worst road rash I've ever got. So we won't go into more detail on that.
Oh my gosh.
However, I went in to see like an Instacare that day, shortly after the crash, to get, kind of cleaned out some of the rash. And I walked in, and this is a nurse who's been doing nursing for however long. She's, older gal, and she's been doing this a long time. She was very sweet. But I walked in and she goes, "Oh, you're left-handed." And I was like, "What?" She goes, "Oh, well, all your rash is on the left side." She says people tend to fall and stay on the side that they're more comfortable with. Like they literally just fall onto their dominant side more often. Even if they fall on the other side, they will manage to rotate themselves over to their dominant side. And sure enough, it had never dawned on me, but I promise you, we're not going to show this. All of my scars are on my left side of my body.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I've got road rash. And
I'm right-handed. Most people are right-handed.
Yeah.
Most motorcycle damage, go on to Copar or whatever. Most of them are all buggered up on the left side.
But my guess is so to her point, whether she's right or not, I have no idea. Her point is, hey, if you're right-handed, even if you fall on the left, you will manage to get yourself onto your right side where you're more comfortable. But yeah, I walked in and she just saw the road rash and she's like, "You're left-handed." And I was like,
"That's crazy.
That's weird. You know that."
That is really crazy. Wow.
Yeah. Huh. And even to this day on the motorcycle, if I've crashed on the track, it's almost always on the left side.
Since we're talking about left-right, do you know of a crazy thing that someone told me years ago? I don't even know where it came from. So you run tube bars, right? We all have one arm that's shorter or longer than the other and one arm that's stronger or weaker than the other. Most people don't think that they can slide their tube bars a little bit to the left or the right to compensate for that. Your handlebars do not need to be dead center. You can adjust them to work with your biomechanics.
But my OCD won't allow it.
I know my OCD won't allow it either. But I thought it was like a really interesting thought that if I'm way stronger on the right, because I'm right-handed, make the right side a little bit shorter, right? My right arm is slightly longer, and then it balances out, and you end up in a more balanced motorcycle by just shifting it over. It doesn't take much.
I am really picky about if we're at the track and someone's like, "Hey, will you ride my bike and just give me your input on it?" Before I even get on the bike, I'll be in the garage and I'll hop on and I'll grab their bars and be like, "You need to move your left bar in."
Yeah, because they're like
they'll be like squampus or like the clutch lever, like the brakes here and the clutch is here. And I'm like,
I don't understand that. Like,
I know your first problem.
But do you remember as a kid, like before you knew, you'd be riding like your little BMX bike and the steering stem would get tweaked over to the left and you didn't know how to fix it. So you would just ride around crooked forever.
Yep.
And it became the most natural thing. And then your dad would straighten it or whatever. And it feels so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very particular about the clip-ons and levers.
Well, and you know, like bike setup is so important, and having the levers where your hands hit is so important. Almost everybody I know that struggles with like trail braking or just struggling with shifting, you go and look at them, you're like, I can tell you why. Your brake lever is pointed to the moon and your clutch lever is pointed towards, you know.
Yeah.
And you're like, put them where they belong. And they're like, wow, it's so much easier now.
It is so
Simplest
funny.
thing.
We're just going off on tangent now, but it's so funny about how many times we'll have a new person come out and talk, and they're like, yeah, I'm just struggling to be smooth. I feel like I'm really kind of herky-jerky and stuff. And you go look at their bike, and the brake lever, like there's an air bubble or something. They got tons of play in the brake lever, or the throttle cable has a ton of play in it, or whatever. There's all these little things. It's like, can we just make the bike work first and then worry about all the other stuff?
I've always considered myself a very adaptable rider, right? Hop on a different bike and you just go. So I had never really met Ari Henning before. Like I had seen him. We've been at the same places before, but we never really actually met. When we did the other R7 launch, the Alpine Stars SR7 launch, I was paying attention to him because we had a whole fleet of motorcycles and we're all just hopping from bike to bike to bike. And he was the only one I saw do this. And I've endeavored upon myself to follow in Ari Henning's footsteps. But every bike he got on, before he moved, he would adjust all the levers. He would adjust the play where they were out and in, and he just took a second. I never do that. I usually just get on and go.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, he's one of the most gifted, skilled riders that you're going to really spend time with. And I'm like, I'm going to be like Ari, every bike now.
Did you learn a lesson?
Totally. Like, and it's, you know, I didn't, when I did the Yamaha R7 launch, I didn't. And as we're like leaving, I was like, son of a gun, the brake lever's in totally the wrong spot. And so, you know, like, and I should have been more like Ari and adjusted all the levers right there before I rolled out. That was a great thing to learn from someone of that much skill and experience.
Yeah, well, and being confident enough to know what you want. Because I think that happens a lot where riders, they get on a bike and they feel like, well, I don't know what's right, so I'll just do whatever it is, I'll just go with it.
Oh, that's a really interesting perspective.
Because, well, so I'll give you one example. I remember having a guy come out to the track. We've turned into a track episode today, so sorry for that.
No, we're talking about all sorts of things. We're talking about bike setup,
But I remember him coming out and he was saying, well, I don't really know what to do with the suspension, if I should adjust it one way or another. And I was like, just like figure out where it is currently and kind of blueprint it. So write down what it is and then go wherever you want to go and just see what it does.
Right. And make big moves. I remember when you and I first started riding on the track, you said that to me and I was like, oh, no. And you're like, no, like take all the damping out and just see
what it does.
And then come back halfway and then see. And like so enlightening.
Yeah.
It teaches you so much in a relatively short amount of time.
But it was a newer track rider, and he had done that. He like measured how far out from in and all that stuff, and he wrote it all down. And then I went over and I was like, "So what did you do?" He's like, "Well, I took a click out." And I was like, "No, you're gonna want to do more than that.
You're not gonna feel a click." I don't think Rossi would feel.
I won't
click.
know if you took a click out.
Yeah.
So it was just like, just be confident in what you're doing and know that like, hey, it doesn't matter what I think of it. It matters what you think of it. Like if you like it or not, that's what matters. Like, don't listen to me.
Well, we all have different hand shapes and we all have like all the things. And so it was so fascinating to watch him, like every bike he got on, he would just take a second and it doesn't take long. And he just watched it like 2-3 times and he'd, and then off he'd go, and it's like, I want to be more like Ari. And just be picky about some of those things.
Yeah. That's totally a fair, like, be particular about.
They're adjustable for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to hop on not your bike. Like, I'm not going to hop on your motorcycle and be like,
mess with everything. Yeah.
Like not cool. But like,
sure.
Right. But like on a press bike or something like that, or you're doing demo days or something like that, take a second, your motorcycle. Go out and take a second. Is that really where you want the brake lever? Or is that just where it happens to be? And you know this. as your brake pads wear down, as your brake fluid kind of starts to degrade, it's going to change. And you can, like, mountain bikes are really bad at this, you know, because you go through paths and like, I'll be like, maybe at the end of the ride or 2 or 3 rides, I have to click the little thing, one more click to put the brake lever back where I want it because everything's kind of wearing.
Well, and there was this great clip. I don't know if it was a Faster movie or where it was. So on a lot of motorcycles, they have a remote brake lever adjuster.
Right.
So basically what it is.
Is this the one like?
Yeah. So basically, so imagine your front brake lever. You've got on the nicer master cylinders, you've got like a multiple click adjuster, which just adjusts where the lever sits in the sweep. It doesn't adjust pressure, just where the lever is. A lot of times you'll get a remote adjuster. So there's this funny little cable that strings from the right side all the way to the left bar, and then you've got a little dial. And the point of it is, as you're riding, you're actually able to just with your left hand pull it off the bar and like add a click or two to move the lever while you're in the middle of a ride on the track. There's this fantastic clip of Valentino Rossi at Phillip Island, I think it is. Phillip Island is a unique track. It's very big, fast, sweepy corners. He would, every single lap in the same spots, he would adjust his lever twice. So there was a corner where he's coming in after having not been on the brake for a long time, so the brakes have cooled off. And because they've cooled off, the lever's in a different position because it's all fluid. He would adjust the lever for that braking zone, and then later in the lap, as the brakes have heated up, he adjusts it back.
I remember this. It was so cool.
And then on the straight, again, he adjusts it back.
And just like calm as a cucumber, right?
Every
like,
single lap.
He's like freaking like first or second in the race, and he's like,
click. Yep. Click.
Yeah, it was so cool.
You know, and now not most of us do not ride with a remote adjuster on our brake lever. But the point of that story is it has to be comfortable for you. You're going to be better off if everything feels how you want it to and fits how you want it to. So don't be afraid to make little changes like that.
I mean, I think this falls right into the spring riding thing, you know, like go out there, make adjustments to your bike. You know, another thing, we'll tie in a little track thing. Switching from standard shift to GP shift, right? I tried to try GP shift once in the middle of the season, and it was just super confusing. I'm like, this is stupid. I'm never going to do it. But there's so many like data points that show where it's better for track riding. Yep. So I was like, okay, dead of winter. In the middle of winter, I'm going to go out to the bike and I'm going to switch it to GP shift. So now I've been off the bike for 4 or 5 months. And my first track ride is this bike is now GP shift. Yep. And it was
just a full reset.
It was fine. I had no problem. And I've been running GP shift on my track bikes forever. Now, again, I think I am an adaptable rider because I'm bouncing between GP shift and standard shift all the time. There's still moments when I get really in the mood and I start like back shifting into corners and I realize now I'm in 6th gear when I should be in 7th or in 2nd gear kind of a thing. But for the most part, if you've been off the bike for a while, now's a good time to go make changes. If you are ready to try GP shift for your next riding season, do it now before you've actually started riding. It'll be way easier for your brain to adjust than doing it halfway through a track day in the middle of your season.
Yeah. I wouldn't even try it in the middle of a season.
Yeah. I mean, I did, and it did not work. Yeah.
One more topic I think we can cover here. So you asked like, what are the things I'm working on? So at the track day, it was getting my eyes up and keeping my butt back, like just resetting how I look at the racetrack. The other thing was just trying to slowly develop front tire feel again. So one of the things you go through the entire off season and you come back to it. For me, one of the slowest things for my brain and my body to get back to is having the feel of the front tire that I need to go fast on a racetrack.
Interesting. All right, I want to hear more about this. And so, I'm gonna cut you off really quick for our audience. I'm just gonna. He'll never say this, but I'm gonna say it. Brian is insanely fast. He's probably one of the fastest regional riders. He holds one of the quickest lap times ever on the West track. You're in very rare air up in that. He's unbelievably talented and skilled. I have no aspirations of ever being quick as him, but listen to what Brian says when it comes to being fast, because we all do. Quick story before you go on. We did our first track day, brand new suit, and everything's kind of stiff and whatever. It's cold, the wind's blowing, it just rained, and I'm like, oh, I feel, and you're like, hey, look, I touched my elbow. Like, you're already dragging elbows around corners And so, yeah. But now continue with the audience's now respect to listen to what you have to say.
Well, thank you. So one of the things, so if you think about modern motorcycles, if you think about the different parts of riding a bike, so and we're talking track riding, of course, but this is applicable to street riding. In a straight line, everybody can turn the throttle just as good as everybody else. That's not different. Straight line braking, I would argue, is actually a skill that most people can develop fairly quickly.
I would agree.
You can like brake at the limit of straight line braking fairly quickly.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get good at threshold braking.
Yeah. To the point where the rear is about lifting up or
you can feel it. You'll start to develop feel relatively quickly.
So straight line braking, pretty doable. The next harder thing I would say is like carrying mid-corner speed and exiting a corner properly. That takes more skill and more confidence with feeling what the rear tire is doing for grip. But I would say the hardest thing and the thing that separates me and anybody else at like a club level or whatever from the proper fast pros, MotoGP, any of those guys, is what they do on trail braking on entry. And that is the number one thing that separates the fast guys from the kind of fast guys.
Well, and this is why we talk about trail braking a lot.
Yeah.
Is that it's easily misunderstood. It's misinterpreted. It's misdefined all the time. But it also, it gives you so much, and it's not super easy to get totally right.
So that's where when I say I spent the entire day trying to build up some front end feel and confidence again. And by the end of the day, I still felt very numb. I never really got to the point
how
where I
do
felt
you
great about
develop feel? What are you feeling? What are you looking for?
So the best example I can think of, if you're familiar with our track, is turn 1 and turn, I think it is.
On which track? West?
On east.
On east. Okay. Turn 1 is a really terrible decreasing radius off camber corner that you have to ride into a point, turn at the slowest point, and then you fire out. But you have to be super precise because if you go into the fall away section, you hit marbles and it's very sketchy.
Yeah, the biggest thing with like turn 1 on east, turn 1 on west is like this too, but not as much. But turn 1 on east, and then I think it's turn 7, the double left before you go up the hill to the Attitudes. Is that 7?
You treat it the same way, but it's bigger and there's no fall away.
Yeah.
And it exits on an uphill.
But both of those corners, all of those corners have really deep trail braking to them.
Yeah, you both ride them in like this V shape.
Yeah.
And it's very unique to our track. I haven't done many tracks that have as many V-shaped corners as ours. But it's not something you see very often on the street. You would treat it like it's basically a double apex. You apex it going in, you get stopped in the middle of the turn, and then rock it out.
Yeah. So these corners that have a ton of trail braking where you're braking into the corner a long, long way. Those are the ones where front end feel is the most important thing. So the whole weekend, what I'm doing is I am just slowly pushing my brake marker back a little bit. Not because I'm trying to just brake later, but I'm trying to force myself to carry more brake pressure deeper into the corner. Because if you start braking, so when you're a newer track rider, what often happens is you get a little scared, or you're coming into a corner and you're like, this seems like enough. And you roll off the gas, you start braking, and you get a lot of your braking done in a straight line. To the point where when you tip in, you basically need no brake pressure, or very, very little.
And this is what we coach, right? It's better to go to the brakes when you're nervous so that you don't end up panicked.
Yeah. Now you can go into a corner like this. The problem is when that rider who is doing most of their braking in a straight line and they're coming into the corner with very, very, very little or no brake pressure on the front end, and they go, I want to go faster. I want to go faster and go faster. You can't carry more and more and more speed into the corner without brake pressure. Right?
There's another element to this too. Mm-hmm. And that's your contact patch.
That's what and that's where we're going. Yeah.
Like, because and this is, I'm going to interject again, I'm sorry, but what you're saying too, I'm going to try pushing my brake marker back just a little bit. You're not trying to do like a big move. You're incrementally trying to push it just a little bit because we don't want big giant changes. But the the physical advantage that you're gaining by doing this, by trying to pull brake pressure in a little deeper, is you're keeping your forks loaded, which keeps your trail down, which goes back to last week's episode. And you're also keeping that tire pushed down into the ground. So you're effectively riding on more rubber than the guy who went to the brake early and is now finished braking before he gets to that first apex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if I can go into the corner with more pressure on the front end, and you'll hear me, I'll say pressure a lot. I do not mean tire pressure. I mean pressure on the brake lever.
Well, and it is pressure in the tire. It's very confusing. We use pressure, 3 different definitions.
Yeah. So when I'm thinking about, and I use the word pressure because it feels very, I think the analogy I think about is, imagine like a balloon. As you squeeze a balloon together, you can feel the pressure swell up as you squeeze the walls of the balloon. That's kind of almost what I'm mentally thinking about as I carry brake pressure on the front end, is the more pressure I have, I feel the bike lean into that tire more, and the tire gets pushed and squished into the ground harder and harder. There's a limit to this, right? Like you can absolutely over brake and you'll lose grip altogether, lose traction altogether and crash. I'm trying to ease up to that limit though, slowly and incrementally, kind of how much more can I get? How much more can I get? But I can only do that if I'm willing to, I have to sort of push the brake marker back. And when I say push it back, every lap, I'm moving it a couple feet. It's not like I'm taking 20 yards or moving a whole brake marker board or something like that. It's a few feet, which in your brain at speed is, it's splits of seconds. It's hardly anything. And then you go to the brakes and then you start braking and you downshift and you downshift and you tip in, and you're just trying to keep that pressure on that front tire. And you want to feel that front suspension collapse and squish into the ground deeper into the corner. And the better you can keep that squish down and deeper into the corner, the more grip you have, literally the more grip you have, but also the more information you're getting from the tire.
Fascinating, right? Yeah. I didn't think about the feedback loop you're getting from that as well, right? That it's because it's like a spring pushing back on you, or that balloon pushing back on you, that if you go in like a neutral state, or you're rolling through, your suspension's in a pretty light part of the travel, it's going to soak up a lot of things without really telling you much. But if you're into the travel halfway, 2/3 of the way, there's just more force.
Yep.
Right? And you're going to feel that right in your hands.
And you'll feel that tire, like over the undulations. You'll feel the tire deform with the dips and the grooves in the track. Like if you see a split or a seam in the ground, you'll literally feel the tire as it rolls over that seam. You'll feel it deform and flex as it goes over it. That's what you want to get to. You want to get to where you have this feel of the front tire, the feedback that you're getting from it, that you can tell exactly what's going on. You want to feel the little grains and bumps and dimples and stuff in the surface. And that's where you get the most confidence, is when you feel like you've got like a direct line of communication to what is the tire doing on the surface. If that line of communication feels fuzzy or vague, or like you can't quite tell what's going on at the surface, that's where your confidence is out the window.
And people don't believe this, and we've been saying it for years. No. The number one crash that we see out on the track isn't from people overloading the front tire and tucking it. It's an underloaded tire. They finish their braking event early, or they let go of the brakes abruptly. The forks are rebounded. There's not load into that front tire, and their lean angle is still, you're using up grip for that, and they try to add lean angle without load into that front tire, and the front tire just lets go. And that's where you get these I have no idea where I fell.
Yep. Right?
And it's almost always, we'll look at their footage on their camera or whatever, and you're like, you were on an underloaded front tire. An underloaded front tire is honestly, it's the scariest thing for me. Now, I'm not near as quick as you, but like I will carry less pressure for as long as I possibly can, because even just a few percentage points of brake pressure gives me more information. I can tell what the front tire is doing at a significantly lower speed than you're going. So you don't have to be going Brian speeds to get this.
This works everywhere.
It works everywhere. It works on the street, and on the street it might be 1% brake pressure. It doesn't take much. And you can tell the contact patch is digging in, is digging into the road.
Yep.
So that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Brian.
So but that's what I'm working on. Like on the first track day, even from the beginning to the end of the day, it was significantly better feel. I had more understanding. But even at the end of the day, I was like, I'm glad we're not racing this weekend, because I don't have the information from the front like I want right now. And that's not the information was, the funny thing is like the information was probably coming to me, right? Like the tire was gripping how it was going to grip, the bike's moving how it's going to move, but my hands and my butt and my brain, nothing is receiving the information as well as it needs to yet. And I just need more seat time, and I need to feel that and understand that more, a few more, times before I can finally go, oh, okay, that's what the front end's going to feel like. That's how I feel coming into the corner. And the way you kind of build up to it is just, like I said, you kind of do these incremental, tiny incremental little changes. You've got a great analogy I've used before where you think about your riding skill is inside of a bubble, and you want to just like slowly, gently push the walls of the bubble out further and further. You don't want to poke the bubble because you'll burst your bubble.
The joke is you get a bang in a lot of small pieces, right?
So that's kind of what I'm almost thinking about or doing when I'm on track, is I'm just trying to, like, every lap, it's just a little bit more and a little more pressure and a little more feel. And if you can do it incrementally enough, if you go to the limit or go over the limit, it'll tell you. You'll get like a little like whoop like that, or a little push.
Yeah, and then that's when you give it back. And you're like, that's when you give pressure back, right? Like, and it's, okay, maybe I'll be a few feet off or a foot off of my apex.
And so be it.
So be it, right? Yeah. Like, that's fine. That's better than falling. You don't want to like push a bad scenario to get to a prescriptive point.
Yep.
And again, like, you don't have to ride at like racetrack top level to get this experience or to get the benefits from these techniques. It chafes me when people are like, oh, trail braking is a racetrack technique. You should never do it on, you should never need it on.
It's every street corner you've ever been on.
It's every street corner. And it's not that you need it. We don't want to be like riding in the state of need. I want to do whatever I can to reduce risk.
Yeah.
And having a loaded tire, having that tire pushed into the ground is reducing risk, even if it's only by a tiny little percentage. It's huge.
Well, and where I think on the street where this makes all the sense in the world to me is if you can develop this feel for incrementally adding pressure, incrementally making changes in places that you're comfortable. So a racetrack, you see the same corner every minute and a half.
It's why it's such a good environment to do this.
In the streets, even if it's a canyon road that you love and you hit it all the time, what are you going to see it maybe 30 times a summer?
Right.
Maybe, right? And that's a road you hit a lot, right?
Yeah, I don't think, even like as much time as I spend in East Canyon making videos for you guys, I don't think I hit that road 30 times in a summer.
Yeah, so, but if you can take those places where you're more comfortable and you understand the radius and the grip and everything else and practice in those places, then when you're on a road that you're not as familiar with and the situation surprises you, or, oh, that tightened up, I didn't realize it was going to tighten up. Your brain's going to fall back into that. Oh, I'll just add a little more pressure. I can deal with this. Right. I know exactly how to deal with this. Because you've trained it. You've told it, this is what I do when these situations happen.
Let me throw something out there, because I'm seeing this I'll just leave it at that. I'm seeing this. Don't go timing yourself on local canyons. Like, do not set up a little timer and try to push time in a local canyon. That is that is so monumentally dangerous, because it's going to cause you to push decisions that you would not normally otherwise make. If you want to push, if you want to time, the place to do that is on the 9 corners that you're going to see every 90 seconds, not on a public road where a car could pull out in front of you, where someone could be doing a U-turn in front of you. I'm seeing this more and more out there in the internet sphere of people advocating for and timing themselves on local canyons to measure their performance. 100% inappropriate.
That seems bananas.
It is bananas.
I did not know that was happening.
I'm shocked. Yeah. Like, someone's going to end up with a lawsuit and could lose their house. So, like, don't do it. Don't listen to anybody who tells you to go time yourself on a public road. There's too many freaking variables, and you're not going to learn anything. Yeah. What you're going to do is you're going to be magnifying risk with no actual benefit.
Okay.
Right? Because if you're pushing, if you're trying to make time, if you're trying to, like, whatever, you're not going to be having fun. You're going to be like, oh, you're going to be like, But, like, when you just relax, man, just, and go for the feel. Like,
yeah, what's funny is I would say on the personal best type laps, you're not fearful. And in fact, it feels smooth and easy. It's sort of funny. It's not, I would say it's stressful in the sense that you're hyper focused on the moment, but it's not stressful in the sense that you're scared, right? You are right here, right now. And that's probably one of the biggest joys of track riding in general, and racing, but track riding really is, this is where I am. This is all I'm doing. Like, what's going on at work, what's going on with family or friends or whatever. It's all kind of on pause for a second. I'm just worried about what I'm doing on track. And it's honestly one of the big reasons why people do it and keep doing it is
a flow state.
It's a very unique experience that you don't really get throughout the rest of your life typically. So
I've seen it with students. I've seen it with myself that when they relax, they stop paying attention to the time. And a lot of, like, they come up to me as like, oh, what's your lap time? What's my lap? Like, I don't care. I don't pay attention. Again, track days versus racing. I'm not trying to be fast or anybody. Yeah. But when they stop and you see that and they just go out there and they're like, well, I was just relaxing, just having fun. And I was like, you were going so fast. I was working to keep up with you.
It was the best riding of your day.
Yeah. It was like you were riding so unbelievably well. And they're like, I just thought I was just tootling along. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ride comfortable. Like, fun is fast and fast is fun, right? Like, don't be riding, like, don't be pushing yourself in, especially some environments. You want to be in a state where you're receptive to the information the motorcycle is telling you. If you're holding on tight and you're pushing and you're like, oh, I got to braking late and hard, and you're going to miss so much information.
Let us know what you think. If there's other topics or if you want to talk about, other things that you incur when you're riding, we've got a couple of, guests scheduled in the near future. That I think
some pretty exciting guests.
Yeah, so I think we'll have a couple fun things coming up the next few weeks.
Yeah, so I don't know what the timeline is going to be. You never know.
Let's see when we get them.
But that's part of the excitement. And then we made some very big progress on the bike giveaway. I'm hoping next week we'll be able to.
Yeah, I was hoping that this. I hope everyone didn't think that this is the bike we're giving away.
Yeah, we're not giving away that one.
This is Dave's bike, not your bike.
That one's mine.
Yeah.
That has an emotional attachment. I'm not ready to give that one away just yet, but I think I mentioned last week, I was hoping to have it this week, but the one we're giving away, so excited about it. I got the script written for the announcement. It's going to be a fun video.
We'll see it soon.
I can't wait to make that video. I just need the motorcycle in my hands, and then I can start making it.
One of these days.
But, all right, guys.
Awesome. Have a good week, guys. Thanks.
See you next week.